of the Harnett County Board of Elections. We're gonna call this meeting to order at 12 o'clock p.m. And we're gonna take a moment for the moment of silence and then the pledge. Okay. There, as usual, you'll let us know, right?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, at this time, the floor will be open for public comment. Yeah, go ahead, Claire, read your statement.
Public comment periods will be held at the beginning of scheduled meetings and limited to a maximum of 30 minutes. Each person desiring to speak shall clearly state their name and will have a maximum of 3 minutes to make his or her remarks. A speaker may not speak more than once during the same public comment period, and unused time may not be yielded to another speaker. To avoid repetition, groups of individuals who expect to have the same or similar comments are encouraged to select a spokesperson to speak on their behalf. Public comment is not intended to require the board to answer any impromptu questions. The board should refrain from engaging in dialogue, except to the extent necessary to clarify the speaker's position. The board shall not entertain questions from the audience, and discussions between speakers and members of the audience shall be prohibited. Speakers shall maintain proper decorum and shall make their comments in a civil manner. Personal attacks and use of obscene or profane language are prohibited. Speaker comments should be limited to subjects that are within the board's jurisdiction, and actions on items brought up during public comment period will be at the discretion of the board.
Madam Director, I think we need to be sworn in before we need to formally organize before our board to even listen. Think about that.
Well, we can do that.
Because he is not a board member until he's been
Well, see,
sworn
the
in.
public comment, well, we can do that.
I
I just think with them just talking, us not dialoguing, the board's
I
not taking
understand
any
that,
action.
but I think we need to be sworn in first.
Okay.
I don't know that it makes a lot of difference, but you're probably technically correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
We can do that. So we'll skip down and we'll organize and we'll come back to public comments. So we have Renee Whittington with us today, and she is going to do the oath of office. And I will give you, here is a copy of the oath. And then everybody should have a Bible. And here is. So if you would stand.
Yes, you have to be sworn where you're at individually, as a group.
If we normally do this.
We have done it as a group. Okay, if you'll please stand. If you'll place your left hand or hold the Bible in your left hand and raise your right hand for me. Thank you. Do you solemnly swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States, that you will be faithful and bear true allegiance to the state of North Carolina and to the constitutional powers and authorities which are or may be established for the government thereof, and that you will endeavor to support, maintain, and defend the Constitution of said state, not inconsistent with the Constitution of the United States, and that you will well and truly execute the duties of the office of member of the Harnett County Board of Elections to the best of your knowledge and ability, and according to law, so help you God.
I do.
Thank you both. Congratulations.
So, yeah, they each have a copy, so just make sure you date and sign. All we did was open. So everybody just, you name at the top, date and sign. Yeah, your name at the top. Alright, so we're gonna finish out the organized part? Okay. So the next, well, the first task for you guys is to select your secretary.
I'd like to nominate Mr. Curran if he would be willing to accept that.
A second.
We have a motion and a second to select Mr. Kern as the secretary. Any discussion?
No.
All those in favor?
We do.
Any opposed? Alright. Alright, and so then the next thing is just to confirm our meeting date, time, and location, since this is a new meeting of this appointed board. So typically, we have our regular meetings are set the first Tuesday of every month at 5:30 here at the RCL building, because we do not have room in our office, so it's in lieu of site. Is there any interest in changing the date, time, or location of our meeting?
I can go with the date. Madam Chair, I know we ran it, but I think we need to be at 5 o'clock so we don't get confused with, and I know I was guilty of it on occasion, showing up at 4:45 when the meeting was at 5. So, but I can go along with whatever.
Yeah, the uniforms would be good. Because it's 5:30.
Yeah, and for the next 2 years, we will have a lot of absentee meetings, which will be at 5, so again, that's up to the board.
The only thing, we all don't work for ourselves or retire. And, I have a lot of meetings that run up to. And in our meetings, I don't know about the two of you, but people have complained that we're not accessible, that they're not able to get here. They want it even later. So, it's our individual responsibility to keep up with our own calendar. But I don't oppose 5, but you know, that's hectic traffic from my end. Before, 2 years ago, it wasn't a problem, but I can see it increasing.
Yeah, it's gotten worse.
What if, Madam Director, this is something to think about. Instead of having 5, let's just keep everything uniformly at 5:30.
Absentee meetings are statute for 5.
Statute for 5, that's right, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the majority of the meetings will be at 5 due to the absentee, what's coming up. And uniformity, I think is good. 'Cause sometimes I get confused.
No, you get confused all the time. Okay, I mean, I'll try my best, but work comes first.
Betsy or Bill, you guys have any thoughts?
Either is fine with me. I mean, I understand Allison's position, and I also, in terms of accessibility for people that work. I mean, I do think we've got the streaming going on now, which will help, but 5:30 might be easier for people that work that want to attend to make it. So, but like I said, I'm fine with either.
I think 5 o'clock is a good time. That would be continuity then, we'd have that with the other meetings, and there'd be no mistaking it. I think if people want to attend, they'll cut out work a little early. And traffic, half-hour difference, it's de minimis, so I think 5 o'clock.
Oh, it's not. Trust me, I live it.
Well, I guess it depends upon where you live, that's true.
Yeah.
Alright, so it sounds like the date is okay, the location's good, and then possibly moving to 5. Is there a?
I mean, I'm fine trying it, but it will be open for later.
And I will say that, we can change this at any time, but just for our notices and our website, we just have to have something set for now.
I make the motion to amend the meeting time to 5 o'clock, at least on a temporary basis.
I'll second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Alright. And then the last item as far as organizing, everybody has in front of them a copy of the director duties. So every 2 years when the board organizes, the state board just likes to have this approved again. This is the same that we have approved in 2 years ago. The only difference is number 16 has been added. And the state board sent us an email suggesting that we add it. It's just review, examine, and certify the sufficiency and validity of petitions and nomination papers. This is something that I've done for years, but it's never been specifically laid out, not just in my duties, but a lot of director duties across the state. And so they have just reached out to us to make sure we add that into those duties. Other than that, everything is the same from previous. If you need a minute to review, then you can, but I just need a motion to accept these.
I have a question.
Yes.
Is that all you do?
There's a lot more in between the lines. But yes, this is the general outline of what we do, because the board can delegate duties to me. For example, one of the duties, like, the secretary is supposed to keep the minutes, but they delegate that to the director, and so I keep the minutes. So there's some things that the board can give me or take away.
I move to approve the provisions before us.
Second. I yield to the Mr.
Okay.
Dillon.
Alright, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Alright, so now we're going to circle back around to the public comment section. And like I said, I just left it at the beginning because that's how we just had it, so it's alright, but going forward, unless there's a change, it'll be at the beginning of the minutes. I'll let you.
Okay, we're now back. Do you need to reread that statement?
Just not.
All right, so we're now open to public comment. Anyone? Of course, Marge. Come on up.
Yeah, listen.
Marge is our old friend.
And I am a friend. And
Yes.
good afternoon and congratulations to all of you. I know that next month, this board will be appointing the chief judges for the next 2 years. I wish to once again ask that the board abandon its tradition of appointing the chief judge from the same party as the governor. This tradition puts the integrity of the election solely in the hands of one party. To avoid any appearance of impropriety or possible fraud, an equal balance of chief judges between the parties would eliminate any such perception. Additionally, I am curious as to how the election officials for one-stop voting are determined. Because early voting and election day are all part of the same election, the same people recommended by the party should be utilized for both. Please make clear to the public the reasoning for why this doesn't necessarily happen. The state statutes were written prior to the establishment of early voting. Clearly, the intent of the law applies to early voting and not just to election day. And I would ask a personal request. I don't know, there's people next door, there's noise out in the hallway, and I am suffering personally from seasonal allergies and having an ear plug. Could you all speak up so that we can hear what's going on? Thank you.
Thank you, Marge. Anyone else? Miss Rebecca?
Rebecca Brock, Harnett County Democrat Chair, and I too welcome the board to another 2-year term. And I know that we're going through an election year that's going to be unprecedented in 2024. And I would very much like to have the same effort that you all put in last year, 2 years. And Mr. McNutt, I welcome you to the board, that goes forward to the next 2 years. In regards to the precinct chief judges that are named by the various parties, I hope we have enough Democrat precinct judges, quite frankly, in this next 2-year period, but we're working towards that. And that I feel as though you had a very good working relationship in these last 2 years, and that you're all 5 of you, Mr. Cover, no longer with us, we're working for all of the constituents of Harnett County. And that's what I feel like I would task, as all of us would, that you do within relationship to the statutes that you are bound by. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca. Anyone else? Okay, public comment is now closed, and Claire will move on to the review and approval of the meeting minutes.
So the next paper in your packet is a copy of the minutes from June 6th. If you need to take minutes to review them, you can. If you're happy with them, a motion to approve is in order. And Bill, you don't have to sign these minutes, because I know you were here, but since you weren't on the board.
The time of the next regular meeting is, it says 5:30.
Yeah.
Make a motion to approve.
You're gonna change it?
Well,
I mean,
when we did the meeting, it was, they were
Yeah.
announced at 5:30, so I just marked through it and put 5, and then we'll just post it like that so you can see the edit. Okay, got a
I'll
motion?
send it.
All right, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And this is the one to be signed. I'll send it your way. And then I will give it.
Claire, do I need to sign this because I was absent?
You don't have to.
Okay.
Well, I have 3 that sign it, so I'll pick it up from Betsy.
I'm just, to pass it.
I'm okay with it, I just didn't.
Yeah, it's fine. Thank you.
Okay, now we've moved from reading and review of the meeting minutes, so we're officially open on business.
So a lot of this is just gonna be kind of updates and then just getting you on the same page, Mr. McNutt or Bill? Is it Bill? Okay. So basically coming up now, we have the municipal elections. So our October election is for Dunn and Irwin. And then our November election will be Andrew, Coates, and Lillington. So right now we are in the middle of candidate filing. That ends Friday at noon. And so far we have had everybody file for every open position. As of 5 o'clock yesterday, the only exception was Dunn, Ward 2, and Irwin, Ward 2 and 6. So there's 3 seats that still haven't been, that don't have been filed for, so they have till Friday, and then of course anybody can still file for any of the other seats that are open. But again, that ends Friday at noon.
Can you repeat the 3 seats?
Dunn, Commissioner Ward 2, Irwin, Commissioner Ward 2, and then Irwin, Commissioner Ward 6. And this is 5 o'clock yesterday, so if anybody's come in today while I've been here, I don't have that updated on the sheet yet. And so anybody who wishes to file can come to our office before noon on Friday. So with the municipal elections, we do have to approve our one-stop voting plan. And I was hoping that we can go ahead and get that done today. being it's a municipal election, we do not have a large turnout for early voting. So my recommendation was just to use the commons area here in lieu of our office, of course, because we don't have room there. And then just do the basic hours that we've done for all past municipals, Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. And then that last Saturday is statute to be open 8 to 3. So as far as early voting, since 2015, for the municipals, we've only had one election where we were even close to 100. Everything else has been around 50 people come out for early voting. So there really isn't a justification to extend the hours, locations, or do additional days on top of that. So I would just, my recommendation is to do the statutory minimum.
And that would be for both the October and November?
Correct, correct. And we can, I actually have it on here to do two separate motions, so we're gonna approve the October one-stop plan and then the November one-stop plan separately, but they'll both be the same. Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, the last Saturday, 8 to 3.
My only question is, if with the October election just being for done in Irwin, does it make sense to have a one-stop location either in the?
Well, statutorily, we have to do our office at the minimum,
Okay.
and so if we do an in lieu of site, it has to be within, I think it's 10 miles or 5 minutes from our office. So the commons area would be the only place we could do in lieu of. So we can't do an in lieu of site in Irwin or Dunn, because that would be too far from our central location.
What we do as far as Sunday voting go with the municipal,
In the past, we've never done Sunday voting,
not for the municipal.
because we don't get the turnout. Like I said, we barely hit 50 in every election except for November of 2015, and that's because we had Andrew Coates Wellington and a Dunn runoff. And for that election, we only had 90 people show up to vote.
Okay.
So to have the extra days, the extra staff, it's not worth the cost.
So 8 to 5, right?
Correct.
Well,
And Saturday.
That last Saturday before the election would be 8 to 3, and that's what's statutorily required.
but since there are so few people, could we actually do it at your office? Wouldn't that be even cheaper rather than trying to staff?
We don't have, because see, the only place we have is that back meeting room, and we have all that shelving in there now. So we don't have any room in our office to do any voting. And then again, we're consistency, since that's one of our early voting locations.
I move to approve the October Dunn and Irwin plan as presented.
And I'll second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, and then the November?
I think you said.
No, he just said October. I'll
Oh.
make a motion for the November one
Okay.
that we do it as proposed, the statutory minimum.
And
I'll
the
second that.
Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so that is taken care of. The next item is the calendar for this upcoming election season. So of course, I'm gonna have to update this because I have our regular meeting time is 5:30, so I'll change those. And this way you just have a quick overview of everything that is coming up, especially the meetings that you guys are, required to attend. I do want to address on the calendar, August 1st is our regular board meeting date, and then August 22nd is the board meeting date to appoint judges. Is there interest in merging those and having our regular and judge appointment meeting on August 22nd? Or do you want to meet twice in August?
I think once.
That would be my recommendation.
You're gonna have to post that we changed it.
Yes,
right?
it'll be posted and advertised. Is there a motion?
I have a question.
Yes.
In between those two dates is the state board conference.
Correct.
training for board members in Charlotte.
And staff, correct,
Yeah.
yes.
Would it benefit us to have that training? It might be able to influence our decisions on the 22nd appointments.
Yes, because I do know that the state board is gonna have several breakout sessions for board members, and that may be, like you said, give you a good understanding of what's expected before that 22nd meeting.
So that might help us. But I'd like to see it stay the same.
Okay.
So you wanna meet on the 1st also?
Yes.
Oh, okay. All right, so you want to do the 1st and the 22nd?
Yes, ma'am.
Do we have business that we'll need to go over on?
On the 1st, so typically if we don't, so on the 1st, and I'm having to think, that's 2 weeks from now, there's several things that could come up. There could be legislative changes, we may not have as much business, but there's usually always something I can review on, especially, like I said, legislation, photo ID, things like that. So we can find something to meet. It's just, I know in the past, the board has always merged those meetings, but I have to have that approved in the minutes prior to.
I kinda like what our news members said about training and having enough knowledge, gain as much insight as to what we're doing here and how this will affect. I like the 2 meetings.
But we won't be doing any training on the 1st.
No,
There
on
won't
the
be
1st
any
is
knowledge.
just a
We'll just
regular
give us-
meeting.
And that, the first
And
one
then
would be
the-
before the training that we receive.
Correct. So the 1st is just a regular meeting. And then you won't go to the conference until August 13th through 15th. And so the August 22nd, when you appoint the judges, will be after the state board
Right.
meeting and training.
What
So there's not gonna be anything between now and August 1st.
okay, what will, with the training at the conference, as far as how would that impact our decisions or voting on the judges after we're gonna learn anything?
I don't know that it will affect your decision per se, but I know they're just gonna go through board meetings, what it means to be, quasi judicial, how, basically, a refresher for all current board members, but basically a good training for new board members across the state. Basically how meetings flow, what your duties are, that kind of stuff. So when Bill was talking, I thought he was saying to do the conference first, then the meeting, but I misunderstood that.
Could you clarify that, please, Bill?
Yeah, I was thinking on the first board meeting,
Yes.
we do have legislative activities coming up, and certainly there should be some input, at least discussion on it. And even in the handouts that you submitted for this meeting, I don't know if we'll clear all of that. And then the state board putting all of the references of photo ID and what have you. I don't know how that's going to impact us. I think those are things that it's not, in my mind, make work. It's a clarification of existing changes in the law and how it impacts us. So that's why I think, even though it sounds like we have nothing on the agenda, I think there's be plenty to talk about on the first. And then the second reason on the appointment of the judges, it's been my experience that the more knowledge and information that we have, the better decision we can make in making the appointments and approving the appointments. And the conference is put in place just for that purpose, to train us a little bit and give us an opportunity to expand our base of knowledge so we can make good decisions.
That's what I was referring to or alluding to whenever I made the comment that, especially with everything that's going to be going on, we're going to have a lot of work in front of us. A lot of stuff that's thrown at us.
Well, ultimately, it's a board decision. If you want to keep them the same with the 2 meetings, we don't need to do anything because it's already scheduled that way. But if there is interest in merging them, then we would need a motion and a vote on that. So again, board decision.
No motion, it stays the same.
Yes. question?
Silence.
I guess we'll just do the same.
Alright.
But at 5 o'clock and not 5:30.
Yeah, so at the next meeting, I'll have this updated with the times and everything for you. Alright, so again, you know, you have a copy of this. If you have any questions about the calendar or meetings, just, you know, please reach out and let me know. So then the next thing I had was was in fact the State Board Conference. So that is August 13th through 15th, and I think I've spoken to everybody about, who would be attending, so we can get the rooms and the reservations all set. Just for clarification, I have everybody coming except for Miss Allison. I think you said you had a work conflict. Okay, so if that changes before Friday, let me know. All right, so everybody else will be there at that conference. Okay, so I'll make sure I get the
Now
registration
those
fees.
conferences are taped and posted
Most of the time, they will release the data
the
from
day
it.
of too. Well, I remember the last conference, they were posted or.
Yeah, they posted all the materials. They may not have the sessions recorded, but they'll have the materials posted, and I'll update you on everything. Okay. So then, just a real quick update on some legislative information. So I forwarded this to you guys yesterday. The Board Association sent this letter to the legislators concerning 3 of the bills: House Bill 772, Senate Bill 747, and Senate Bill 749. And it basically expresses concerns from their point of view about these different bills. Of course, everybody has their own opinions on them. I think a lot of the issues came down to, you know, the observers and what they can and can't do with the voting sites, the makeup of the board going down to 4 members, and then also I think there's a change in 749 that makes the director of elections hired by the commissioners and not by the Board of Elections. So I was really just forwarding this information to you guys so that you are aware of what's going on. And again, this was the Board Association's letter. You guys are all members of the Board of Association, but they haven't been organized, so I don't know if emails went out prior to this letter. So I just want to make sure you guys had the information as well. And of course, if you have any questions about this, you know, feel free to reach out to me, and we can address any issues that you have.
The state board yesterday approved 99 different IDs.
They did. So what we'll do is we'll have to have a document at each site that'll list out those different IDs. The majority of people are going to bring in a driver's license, but if they bring something other than a driver's license, if the poll worker's unaware of, they'll have a document that they can reference to verify that the IDs that are being shown are valid.
Let me ask you a question. Do you agree with their conclusions in this letter?
I do have my concerns with the things in this letter. I think for me, the biggest concern is that House bill
Which one?
with the observers, simply because of, and again, this is just, I hesitate to give my opinion, but the section F, where it says that any election official who restricts an observer can be guilty of a Class 1 misdemeanor, I think that may be something that the poll workers may be hesitant about, and I could see that causing an issue. So again, if this does pass through, you know, we will enforce what the law requires of us, but we'd have to really update our training and make sure that our poll workers are very aware of what the observers can and can't do to avoid that potential issue.
And what was the second one you had issues with? I was reading.
No, that was it, just to talk about, it's subsection F.
You know, so observers in a polling place is,
It's a lot.
I have a comment. I'm concerned about the impact of this letter being sent to us, and I perceive it as being in opposition to these pieces of legislation. I have a different view, and I look at this, and there's 6 people that are signatories on this that are active members. That's 6 out of 500 in the state. And then they, of course, added 25 long-serving members. Well, that was then and this is now. Are these long-serving members active right now and aware of all that went into the legislative process to create that bill?
I can't
You know,
speak to that.
Well, I know that,
Yeah.
and that's why I'm concerned about it, because it's giving the impression that, this is bad stuff, we shouldn't do it. Where's the other side? Do we have a chance to hear the other side? And of course, if in fact we're looking at this and then coming to conclusions from it, on what basis? This is just a letter. I've got probably about a half hour to discuss about what went into that legislation, but I don't want to take that time because I don't think that it should be our position to either adopt or reject something. It's an informational letter. If I'm misperceiving it, let me know.
Yeah, this is just information. This is something that the Board Association sent to the legislators.
Right,
And I'm just forwarding it to you guys so you can be aware of what's out there.
okay.
This is nothing that I need action on for you guys. It's just simply your information that this is out there.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Alright.
Next.
All right, and then, again, if you ever guys have any questions, just always feel free to reach out to me. So then that is all that I had for business. Unless there's something else the board needs to address, we do have a need to go into closed session to discuss personnel.
Can we get a motion?
We have a motion to go into closed session.
I'll make a motion.
second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? It is 12:38 and we are in closed session. a new position, which is an election specialist. So we do need to get those posted, and I just wanted to make sure I got board approval of the hiring process. So if you want, we'll talk about the assistant director first, and how the board would like to go about the hiring process for that. Typically, I it's me and the assistant, but we don't have one, so I feel it's appropriate that the board can assist in that process.
So I make a motion that one Democratic member and one Republican member, Ms. Fenderson and Mr. Curran, assist you with the hiring of and interviewing of the assistant director position.
Yep.
Second.
All right, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so we will do that. And then, again, the assistant director position, we'll go ahead and post that first, and then maybe wait a week or two before we post the election specialist position, just so they're kind of separate in how people apply for them.
I
Again,
would suggest at least 2 weeks.
yeah, I see
See if
2
you get
weeks.
enough.
Will HR be facilitating those applications?
Yes, they will. So all applications have to go through HR, and then they sort them for minimum qualifications, and then they forward those on to the departments.
But as far as interviews, they are not part of the interview process?
They're not unless I ask them to, but they
Okay.
can be, yes.
Because in the previous one, it was, HR was very much involved.
Yes, and it changes kind of with the HR director, but they are more than willing to help if they're asked. So any suggestions on the election specialist hiring process?
That you, oh yes, I'll make the motion that you handle that position.
Can
Without
I
board
post,
involvement.
have some time in between
Yes.
questions?
2
A
weeks.
second.
Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. And with that, we do not have any more business to discuss today. Our next regular meeting will be August 1st at 5 o'clock. Let me change that on here. And again, I will have an updated schedule for everybody at that meeting.
Madam Director, I noticed through the meeting, we have a gentleman here, in uniform. And I'd like to give some recognition, if you don't mind, for him, because it's very rare that we see this, and we're very proud of our men and women in service. So would you mind just allowing the gentleman to stand up and just kind of tell us who he is and what's here?
Sure.
Do you mind that? Sir, please.
Actions the board.
Sure, my name is Lieutenant Colonel McNaughton. This is my dad over here, and we're here to support him. It's a little bit about me. I'm a general dentist. I've been a dentist for 29 years. I had a private practice in Scottsdale, Arizona, which is where we used to live. As far as the military goes, I've deployed twice to Iraq, once to Afghanistan. And right now I'm in a field unit called the 257 as part of the 44th Medical Brigade. Anywhere that the 82nd Airborne goes, then I'll be going with them. So that's all I have to say. But this has been, this is great. I love this. So I'm very proud to see everybody here participating in the government. It's great. So, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Director.
So with that, we have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.